tonight they've asked me to speak a little bit about, it's a very serious situation on our whole planet right now with what's happening with these this virus. And basically, the mutations it's going through, creating what are called the variants, which could possibly have the potential to be even more serious than what everybody's experienced to date with the coronaviruses. And I'm going to be explaining just very simple. I want to give a bit of a disclaimer that I am certainly not the foremost expert in this, and I was a general practitioner. I'm not an immunologist. That would get much more into the technical aspect of it. I want to keep it very simple tonight, straightforward and basic, and just give you an idea of what's happening. And I'll say this too with regards to my disclaimer. We hear so much out there today from so many different sources and directions. The internet's wonderful. The web's wonderful. We can get enlightened or we can get fake news. And it's kind of like they told me when once there was this at our medical school, the graduation ceremony was given by this president of the university. He says, well, we're just so happy to graduate you medical students, but I just want to tell you, probably 50% of what you learned is right, 50% may not be so accurate. He said, the problem is we don't know which is the 50 and which is the other 50. That was a joke. But anyway, so that's the thing that we have to realize is I may say something that can change tomorrow, and you may hear something from one source, something else from another source. I'm just here to give you what little knowledge I have in the area, and essentially giving you as much knowledge as I can and information with regard to how you can prevent this virus from ever infecting you. I will personally say my perspective is we're exposed to it all the time. And it's what our immune system does with it. It's practically like everything we come into contact with in the world. We're exposed to it all the time. And it may affect one person one way, another person in another. And we'll get into that. But so anyway, tonight, they've asked me to give somewhat of a brief presentation. I'm going to try to limit it to 30 minutes. And let me set my clock here so I don't go crazy, because I love to talk, and I could talk all night about it. And then we want to open up to questions, they said, for about another half hour, but whatever it takes, I'm just here for that. So anyway, I'm going to breeze through this pretty quick. I could go into each slide in detail, but I don't think it's necessary tonight. So without any further ado, let's get started. And it's how to survive the pandemic by, well, I'm afraid I'd get a call. Let me turn this off. I'm on a Zoom. I'll have to call you back. Sorry about that. How to survive the pandemic by empowering with CellAge Plus. Now keep in mind, you have an innate wisdom within your body. It's your healing power. It's working 24 hours a day for you, but you have to feed it. You have to nurture it. You have to give it what it needs. And that's basically what CellAge Plus is. So the coronavirus, why so serious? Well, now we have an alpha, beta, gamma, and a delta along with the COVID-19. And the reason is over 191 million, almost 200 million cases reported worldwide. Now that's just reported ones. It could be double that, triple that for all we know, because a lot of people are not going to report it, or they may have very mild symptoms, no symptoms at all. Over 4 million documented deaths, and we know that's many, many more, because a lot of people don't go to the hospital, and they may die of other related illnesses that are a result of the coronavirus. So it's a dastardly little creature. Most people infected with the coronavirus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness, or possibly none at all, and without requiring special treatment. That's why we never know how many people out there may be infected. They could be everywhere. It could be us. Older people and those underlying medical problems seem to have the worst problems, like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, cancers, and are more likely to develop serious illness. This can be grouped into what's called metabolic syndrome. If you've heard any of my other lectures, you'll realize how beneficial CellAge Plus is for metabolic syndrome. Okay. Now, also keep in mind with this Delta virus now that it's affecting kids even more than the original COVID-19 was. Let me see if I can, there, good. All right, COVID-19, what is it? Okay, that's the original. Coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 is defined as illness caused by a, look, I crossed out novel and I'll tell you why. Coronavirus, now called severe acute respiratory syndrome, or coronavirus 2. Now, the reason I crossed out novel is I've been listening to some incredible information about how the coronavirus was patented back in 2003 and 2008. This isn't necessarily a new corona, but it's maybe a novel COVID-19. And the world may never have been exposed to it until 2019. So here's what it's all about. It gets into your respiratory tract, breathing it in and inhaling it, and it gets into the alveoli of your lungs, and they create this inflammatory signals for your immune system to get rid of it. You know, your dendritic cells, the monocytes, the macrophage, all those we'll talk about. But what this does, more than any other virus we've experienced, it creates what's called a cytokine storm, which is an over excitement of the army of your immune system. And it actually can have a deleterious effect on the body, such as ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, multi-organ failure, and hyperinflammation syndrome. Keep in mind this word inflammation, because it's actually, inflammation is the source of almost all disease today. It can pin it back, trace it back, inflammation, okay? And even death, which we've seen how many people have died from it. Long-term effects of COVID-19, this is what's really serious about, and we don't know about the new variants, what their long-term effects are going to be, but heart degeneration, lung and other organ degeneration, and increased function, mental dysfunction, such as memory loss and mental focus power. Dementia is coming about. Vision problems, loss of smell, that's the big one. Everybody goes, oh, but if you lost your smell, you've had COVID. Well, not everybody, but chronic skin rashes and circulatory problems. This is being a really serious situation. And one sign of that is it's called black toes. Now, these you see here, they're not even black yet. This is an early stage of it. But they get black like gangrene. It's a really serious situation because you're just not getting the circulation. Well, here it is, what's happening today. I mean, we all know pretty much about COVID-19, and how it's been affecting people. Now, these are all basically SARS, and but now there's alpha, gamma, delta, and beta. The new names for these, they originally, I mean, you know, you've heard it called it, well, I wouldn't give this much credit, but, much, what should I say, merit. Trump used to always call it the China virus, which is, who knows, that could be totally bogus. They've never proven where it actually came from. So much investigation into it, and it could very well have been from America. So, I mean, they are saying now, this is internet news, that the earliest cases came from America. So anyway, we'll go on. We'll talk about that later. But the Indian variant, which they first called the Indian virus and coronavirus, and then realized that they were setting up a lot of, what I call incrimination, or setting up a lot of attacks on people from this area. So, oh, the virus came from you. Well, there's some sayings that the first Indian, which is called the Delta now, was first seen in England, which is very interesting. There's a South African variant called the Beta, and the Brazilian variant called the Gamma, and then there's a UK variant called the Alpha. Well, probably be the most serious one, especially here and now in America too, is what they're determining is that the majority of cases are not the COVID-19 anymore, but are the Delta variant. Research suggests that the Delta is the most infectious of several variants of concern, the most infectious. Health officials define the strains that have genetically mutated in a way that may make the virus more dangerous. Now, keep in mind, what happens with any microorganism, and you have to realize they have been around for eons. We know that. They were maybe the first life force on the planet. They know how to survive. What are they going to do? They're going to mutate. They're going to change forms. The same thing an antibiotic does in order to become resistant to an antibiotic. And they change forms, they mutate, so they can get even stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's what can happen with variants. That's probably where they are coming from rather than being created in a lab. Maybe originally was, but that's another story. That's a whole nother political thing I won't get into. This is what a Delta virus looks like, and most of them, they don't look like this beautiful little circle you see with these little, tentacles coming out of them. They look like something from a creature from outer space. They're really hideous looking beings. I guess you'd call them a being. I don't know what else, but let's just say pathogen. Okay, the way a virus affects somebody is in basically two factors. A viral factor includes things like speed of replication, how fast that virus can replicate inside you, mode of transmission, keep that in mind, and so on. Viral factors change as the virus evolves. It can become more faster, transmitted easier. Host factors are number two. This is specific to the individual, like age, as we well know, even gender. Medication, certain medications may compromise the immune system. Diet, of course, we know that has to be good or you're going to be more vulnerable to diseases and metabolic syndrome, obesity, and diabetes. Those are prime ones. Exercise, you got to get some exercise. You got to get up off your butt and get the circulation going. Health and stress can all affect host factors. Okay, the Delta COVID variant symptoms versus COVID-19. This is very important. Delta variant, even in some who are fully vaccinated for COVID, can cause symptoms such as those mentioned in the next slide, which I'm going to show you. And there's a little bit of difference between the variants and the original COVID-19. The Delta variant is not only far more transmissible than its predecessors, but it appears to be more lethal to people of all ages as well. Two things there, very serious, easier to transmit and more deadly. Not only is the risk of death from Delta twice as high, it's so transmissible that outbreaks in Australia have been traced back to moments of scarily fleeting contact. I mean, just walking by somebody or maybe touching something they touched. So this is evolving into, and I'm not trying to scare you, this is just what is out there right now, and most of it's bona fide from true scientists and researchers. You got to watch what we get on the internet because a lot of it can be fake news. The Delta variant, according to data from Israel, this is a very interesting study they've been doing there, where 80% of adults are fully vaccinated, has proven a more challenging immunization target. While the Pfizer vaccine protected 93% of immunized Israelis from hospitalization and death, nearly 40% were still vulnerable to infection. That's almost half. So it's very interesting about this particular one, even how much more resistant it is. But we don't know. I won't get into vaccinations tonight. I'm not a licensed doctor in your areas, and so that's for you to take up with your private physicians, personal physicians. Viral loads, now this is very interesting, are 1,000 times higher than their predecessor. Means there's like 1,000 more of those virus particles. They do a count, a blood count, and they can see. And that's one way they show if you're getting better is if your viral count's coming down. It's just like, it's like anything. It's like HIV or herpes or whatever it may be. They look for that viral load. Hepatitis C, prime example, can be infective in less than 4 days after exposure. So quick, and sometimes less. They're just now discovering a lot about this Delta. I mean, you've seen some of the horrific maybe pictures and videos of what's going on in in Indonesia, even here in Malaysia, and so many countries with the just overload of deaths they're getting from this. But anyway, and just the monumental amount of people who are in hospitals right now as a result. Okay, we know that things that can happen that are a little different than COVID are headaches and runny nose. That isn't predominantly a symptom, but of course, sore throat, fever, persistent cough, especially fever, persistent cough, where the COVID, I mean, that was a direct sign right there, the persistent cough. You know, if you get a little tickle now and then, you may, who knows, you may have a mild case of it, but it gets extreme. You need to really take care of it. If you get a persistent cough, because that could get deep. What happens is this gets in your lungs and it basically suffocates them with fluid that the body is pulling in into the lungs. And that's why, you know, many of them need to be on respirators. Here's the key. I mean, there's many keys. This is one I feel that everybody can use. It's your innate wisdom, healing power, which I mentioned in the first slide. We all have that. That's what keeps us alive. It works whether we know it or not. You know, it's the immune system, our innate healing power. What does that do? Scavenges dead, dying body cells. Every day, billions, if not trillions of cells die, and we have to replace them. You know, so we need the right cell food to be able to do that. And our CellAge Plus has that. That's why we term it CellAge Plus. Destroy abnormal cancerous cells. You got to attack the bad guys. That's a big part of the immune system. Protect from pathogens, virus, and foreign molecules, parasites, bacteria, virus. Okay, that's the main function of the immune system. And you can see here in this diagram, you can pull it up on the internet, all the different parts of the immune system. And I want to say this at the get-go. You see this one saying Pyrus patch? It's in the small intestine there, right? It is one of the most integral parts of your immune system. And that's one reason why you have to keep your gastrointestinal tract fed with good bacteria, probiotics, the right kind of probiotics and prebiotics, and also keep it clean. You know, you've got to have a good bowel movement a day or you're getting toxins back into your system, okay? 3 lines of defense. You've got the non-specific physical and chemical, the innate immunity, the natural, and then adaptive immunity, what you acquire in response. Number one, you know, you've got your skin, mucous membranes, the cilia, the stomach, kidneys, urine flow, all of that. Those are ways of getting rid of toxins, protecting you from these toxins or these pathogens. Second line of defense is when your body gets activated from something. You know, there you have your cells. These are all cells, the DC, monocyte, macrophage, basal, EOs, neutrophils, NK, natural killer cells, things of that nature. They all get activated. And the third line of defense is you develop this immunity. It's kind of like a vaccine does. It helps you develop an immunity to this particular pathogen. And that's called adaptive. Okay. So body defense immune system, I'm not going to get into all this verbiage here, but it's basically, it prevents bacteria, fungi, viruses, and parasites from over multiplying inside the body, inflicting harm and illness to body processes. This COVID-19 was particularly pathogenic and infectious because of the way it's affecting hearts, brains, kidneys, liver, you name it, the blood. Oh my gosh, people are getting thick blood and coagulating. So having to take aspirin and things of that nature just to get the blood flowing. It's kind of like a car. If the oil gets too congested, you know, we got to change it, get it fresh, get it flowing. It's called viscosity. Same with our blood. We got to keep it fresh, okay? So, and also the immune system core is in the gut or microbiome. Now that's a word you may or may not have heard. If you heard any of my lectures, you've heard about it before, because it's one of the keys to our immune system and our life force. Here it is, the microbiome. Things that affect it: genetics, environment, diet, lifestyle, hormones, industry, pathogens, all of those. We deal with it through our nose, our mouth, our lungs, stomach, colon, even our sexual organs. You know, they maintain pH and hydrogen peroxide to kill microbes. See, they have some other purpose too. And skin, of course. That's our largest protector and eliminator. You know, when people get rashes, sometimes it's not so bad. That's the body detoxing, you know, particularly the liver with psoriasis and things of that nature. I would just clean out the colon and their skin rashes and their blood, and the skin rashes would disappear. So another thing, and you probably heard me discuss this, is leaky gut syndrome. It's not so big in the medical world, but it's a serious situation. Toxins, microorganisms, certain drugs, even gluten, wheat gluten, and of course the different pathogens, they can, when they're in the system, they can actually create these microscopic holes in your intestine, your small intestine. That's called leaky gut syndrome. When that happens, the materials that you've consumed get into the blood too quick, and your body reacts to it. You know, it says, "Hey, this is a toxin. This is an alien," and so it stimulates the immune response, the IgA reaction, and the B and T cells release, and they're all fighting it because they look at it as a pathogen. And what happens? Nutrient malabsorption, autoimmunity. One of the biggest problems today is too excited of an immune system. That's called an autoimmune, where the body's immune system is attacking itself. Yeah, that's what happens. And that's one of the biggest diseases in the world today. Food intolerances, blood-brain barrier breach. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we have so much Alzheimer's today. Systematic inflammation. And it's interesting, I was reading an article just today about diet sodas, a lot of really in-depth research. I just want to share it real quick. They showed, and have been proven, that this was done at which university? One of the universities in America. I'll think of it in a second. Anyway, and with other groups, and they showed that drinking this Diet Coke, any kind of diet, whatever, NutraSweet, aspartame, those are the real killers, that people died much younger. And equivalent to smoking. That's how bad it can be. Heart attacks, strokes, cancers, and Alzheimer's, a direct connection with Alzheimer's. So if you're drinking any of that poison, please stop. You're better off with sugar than a poison. So what you want to do with leaky gut, you try to remove the bad influences, replace it with good ones, good food, and you re-inoculate with prebiotic and probiotic, which our CellAge Plus has, and you repair that leaky gut, which we've shown our CellAge Plus can do. Here's the other problem today. All of these toxins, they're called free radicals. Free should be a good word, right? Well, that was a radical once too. It shouldn't be a bad word, but anyway, it's given this terminology. It creates DNA damage in the cell. The cell is everything. Everything happens in the cell. You affect that DNA and you're not going to get energy, you're not going to get good energy, you're not going to get healthy replication of cells and a function of cells. And you can see all these here, radiation and smoking. As I always say, smoking is one of the worst things you can do. Not because of the tobacco. Tobacco can be a healthy herb, believe it or not. But I used to grow it. But you want to get organic or that doesn't have 100 plus cancer-causing toxic chemicals in it. That's what's killing people, not the tobacco. And they're available. I don't know if they're available in your country. I mean, we're talking to probably many countries tonight. So anyway, the air pollution and water pollution, we're not going to get away from that. It's always going to be here, I feel. I mean, utopia maybe someday. Here, inflammation, it creates too much reaction in the cell. The body starts attacking itself, you know, the mitochondria. The mitochondria in the cell is the powerhouse for all the energy in your body. Every cell has a mitochondria which produces ATP. That ATP is your energy source, okay? And UV light. You can get too much UV light. I used to love the sun when I was younger. I'd get burnt way too much out in the garden or out in the fields or wherever I was swimming. But now you still have to get a little. That's our source of life. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that. Okay. And I may be talking a little fast because I only have 30 minutes and a lot of slides here. So CellAge Plus, it's all right there. It's all happening. That's all the activity in every little cell in your body. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So what is CellAge Plus? It's a functional food. It's not a drug. It's not a medicine. It doesn't treat or cure any disease, but it can help all of them. That's the other thing I always say. Proprietarily patented in USA. There'll be a full patent on CellAge Plus in the near future, and provides amino acids required for antioxidants and enzyme production. Keep that in mind. Those are two substances and I should say benefits for the body that comes directly from CellAge Plus, and I'm going to show you why. And so, being as it is a food supplement, it's easy to get. Well, we won't say easy, but it's much more readily available and registered in different countries because it's a food. That's what it is. Some people say, "Well, can I take too much of this?" And I go, "Well, can you eat too much food?" Of course, we can eat too much food sometime. I ate too much chicken and rice tonight, but it was organic. But you have to, there's so much of it you could take. If maybe taking too much, you might have, I don't want to call it a detox, but your body may go through some changes while it's getting even better. So antioxidants fight or neutralize the disease causing free radicals. Keep this in mind. 85% of antioxidants needed by the body on a daily basis have to be created in the liver. Isn't that interesting? It needs the proper ratio of amino acids to form these antioxidants and the enzymes, which we're going to be talking about too. But the antioxidants are so essential for fighting these toxins and these free radicals. See here, kidney, reproductive function, dental health, anti-aging, improves nervous system function, that's the brain, supports the immune system, and improves defense power of the body. That's what antioxidants do. Reduce obesity, protect the liver, maintain healthy vision, improve quality of sleep, protection against digestive disorders, and support the respiratory system. That's key. That and the immune system with corona. So we have so much research on every ingredient in this product, and they're all a synergistic blend. We made sure that they work together and that they're from the foremost sources that we could find in the world. We never, ever, what should I say, compromised on the quality of each ingredient, making sure it was the best available in the world. So that's very important because I think a lot of products out there are just cheap versions of this or that, but not all of them. Proven and documented clinical human studies. We were able to create millions of new stem cells in just 5 hours in the blood. We tested it. Nourish and empower existing working cells. You know, every stem cell creates probably, I think it's millions, if not trillions, of working cells in your body. That's how important stem cells are for you. And that's why they're getting so much publicity today and so much recognition. Awaken the dormant or hibernating stem cells. That's the other key. You have so many stem cells that are just hibernating. They're like a bear in the wood in the wintertime. They're not going to get the food they need. So what do? They shut down. They shut down their metabolism until they get the proper foods. And that's one reason why we were able to increase in only 5 hours such millions of new adult stem cells. They weren't new ones. They were just sleeping. We woke them up. And then we did 5-day, 10-day, 30-day, 6-day, and on to show it really did help long-term too. Reduce inflammation in the body. Remember, that was what I had said before. And 100% safe. The research we did proved that too. And this is part of the research. You can see here, group 1 was out of America, and group 2 is out of Asia. That was done in Thailand at the Princess's Hospital there. And you can see the increase in just 5 hours. That was evidence right there. And over here shows both kinds of stem cells from baseline here with our what do you call that? Our placebo. And it wasn't placebo, actually, it was just another substance. And we were able to increase it even after 30 days and 60 days, it was still increasing. These stem cells were. I don't think anybody else in the world has this kind of research. So anyway, another thing Dr. Ann Still and I did, she was former chief stem cell research scientist at Johns Hopkins Medical University, and she was formulator of this product. Anyway, she took heart stem cells because she was a heart stem cell scientist. She developed the first heart stem cell for heart transplants at Johns Hopkins Medical University in their children's hospital there. And you can see here, they fed it with just a normal broth, and they got a few more stem cells created there. And they've introduced this culture with ingredients from CellAge Plus, and look what it did there. You know, thousands, if not millions more. So that was evidence too. And this is it. One of the other things, enzymes. I know you've all heard of enzymes. I was like, oh, I take enzymes. You've got 75,000 enzymes in your body. I don't think you take that many. If you're taking CellAge Plus, you're creating that many. You're feeding that many. Enzymes for energy production, for digestion, for antioxidant production. That's one of the keys here is our product has the 3 essential amino acids, well, many amino acids in it, but in a proper ratio of the cysteine, glutamine, and glycine for forming glutathione. I think you've all heard of glutathione. It's big in Asia, but also catalase, superoxide dismutase. Those are enzymes. They all end in ase, glutathionase. They're all enzymes. And enzymes for anti-aging, like telomerase. I'll keep hitting this button on the right, but it's not working, so I'll keep using this one on the screen. So without going over all of this, because I think you've heard it before, but it builds and modulates the immune system. Now, what's so important about that with regards to modulation? Especially right now, because right now the immune system and people who've been infected and are fighting the COVID and the coronaviruses, what's happening is that they're overactivated immune system. It's too excited. We need to modulate it, balance it, which may mean even not suppressing it, but adjusting it accordingly. And all these other benefits produces antioxidants, probably produces those too, and antibodies. Anti-inflammatory and anti-aging. I don't like to say anti-aging because we're all going to age. We just need to age with quality and grace. Accelerates and enhances repair of damaged tissue and recovery from disease and trauma. Very important. Activates protein synthesis, RNA, DNA, sugar, and fat metabolism. All important, especially with metabolic syndrome. So stem cell food and nourishment, ingredients from around the world. Some of these I could go into it. I won't hear about where they come from, but they are the foremost sources. So let's just briefly cover why each ingredient is beneficial, particularly for the prevention. And if you are infected, definitely take the product too, because it can only you probably have to go through your doctor if you're in the hospital course or if you're seeing them get medical approval, but it's just a food supplement. That's the thing about it. There's nothing here that it can hurt that I'm aware of. Alleviate inflammation, the wheatgrass, organic young wheatgrass powder. And I could tell you a story about how ours I feel is the best in the world, only from one place. And I've been working with them for 40 years. They're the only ones I know who cut it at the short length so they get the optimal benefits from it. Anyway, I won't get into all that tonight. Enhance immunity, improve blood circulation, high in chlorophyll, increase red blood cells, very important. All those factors. You know, there's one clinic, many clinics in America and in Mexico too, where wheatgrass, for everything from orally to enemas, is used to cure so many diseases. Chlorella growth factor. This is not just chlorella, which many of you have heard about. This is nucleic acid, DNA, and RNA extract from it. And that's why it's just such a regenerator. And it produces the DNA and RNA in your body. It stimulates and modulates the immune system. That's one of the big keys there. Enhances production of interferon, very important with viruses. That's what they're using a lot in hepatitis C treatment. Accelerates and enhances repair of damaged tissue. Increases growth of beneficial bacteria in the colon by 400%. This is the microbiome. You know, this is the probiotic in our product. There's probiotic and prebiotic. Those are really important. So also this APP, it's raw materials for enzyme production and antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and bowel function, all of those. There you see it where it's just enzymes create energy, which creates healing power, that innate healing power. That's one of the keys why our product is so powerful. These are just some of the applications. You can see enhances circulatory system, reduce inflammation, improves respiratory function, asthma, allergic rhinitis, cold, flu, pneumonia, to viruses, right? Keep all that in mind. Fucoidin. Fucoidin is, it's been used for centuries, but it's a very specific species of brown algae, slow blood clotting. This is the one big problem they're finding as the after effects of the COVID is the blood clotting, coagulation, stroke, heart attack, deep vein thrombosis, antiviral, cold, flu, hepatitis, HIV. I'm not saying it cures any of that, but this is what it's been researched for. Anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, immune modulator. So you can see each one of these ingredients just not only does this, there's so many other benefits, but these are just some of them that we're focusing on tonight. The Sesaplex and Sesamin. I worked with the Sesamin people now for over 15 years. Well, back in SARS, before SARS. And they actually sold millions of dollars to the Malaysian government way back then. What was that, 2003? I don't remember the year. Reduced inflammation has been shown to fight against H1N1 and other viral diseases. So here you have one of the most powerful substances for fighting it. Quercetin, you may have heard of quercetin, bioflavonoid, fights free radicals and has antioxidant properties, reduce inflammation, prevent infections. You can see, and I'm not even mentioning all the other benefits, how almost every one of our ingredients is beneficial for this situation, you know, this pandemic. So you're very fortunate to be able to have it available. Potential curcumin. Everybody's heard of turmeric, right? Well, it's curcumin, and we don't just use turmeric. We use what's called curcumin, which is the extract from it, which has all the healing qualities. Ain't cheap. The potential to prevent heart disease. It's a potent anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, as well as everything else. Look at this: boost brain development, neurotrophic factors. I mean, if everybody took just curcumin in itself, there'd probably never be Alzheimer's on the planet. Super berries, we combine the best. This is an incredible formula all to itself: raspberry, cranberry, blackcurrant, blueberry, strawberry, and red grape. You know, all the antioxidants and other benefits of berries, which you probably know about. We call it the ORAC factor, ORAC, very high, probably the highest. Xylitol. We wanted to make it palatable, so we looked for the best, we call it sweetener on the market. I like to call it just a taste enhancer. No spike for blood sugar or insulin. It's very safe for diabetics. I mean, you don't want to just sit and eat it, but in the small amount that we use, it's it can't be harmful. Feeds friendly microbes in your digestive system. Very interesting, you know, it's a prebiotic. It's what the good guys, you're loaded with trillions of bacteria. Trillions. You have more bacteria than you have cells actually in your body. And we're constantly dealing with those and keeping the good guys going and the bad guys out. That's what the immune system and our innate wisdom does. And this is what we call prebiotic just in itself. And it can come from birch trees or from corn. Sun fiber, guar seed fiber. This is phenomenal for reducing the glycemic index, promotes fibers. It's a prebiotic fiber for intestinal health, and even helps with weight loss. This type of fiber is probably the most hypoallergenic and the most beneficial of all the fibers that we researched on the market. Is why we chose it. Pea protein. We wanted some more amino acids in there, iron and such, so we weren't adding any vitamins or minerals or anything of that nature because we wanted to keep it a food supplement. So there's a lot of research now out on pisum pea protein, and it's very hypoallergenic, which is fantastic. And it has so many benefits in many ways, which, I've shared with you before. And it's also good for the kidney and heart, allergen-free, and promotes appetite control and weight loss. So just those who need it. I don't think us who don't need it are losing any weight with this. But so what's it all about? Proven effectiveness in scientific research, proven safety. We did complete blood chemistry panels on everybody who participated in our studies to show that it didn't compromise the immune system in any way while they were on the study. How am I doing on time? Okay, I should cut off here pretty soon. Has proven blood chemistry in clinical trials, true regenerator and reversal of disease. We're not treating disease, but this can actually dissipate many, many conditions. Anti-inflammatory, builds a healthy gut microbiome. And it's not just an immune stimulant, but more a builder, balancer, and modulator. That's the key word tonight is modulation, especially with the corona. So you all know the precautions, respiratory adequate. I won't get into this too much. Mask, distancing, washing hands, and particularly now with the rising numbers throughout the world, especially in particular countries, it's best to stay out of extremely crowded areas, especially if it's not well ventilated. That's one of the keys, because it's so virulent, it's so easy to catch it. And if you have any symptoms, please isolate or quarantine. You don't want to infect anybody else, and you want to take good care of yourself. And it's spread primarily through, they say, droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose, coughing or sneezing, but many more sources they're claiming now, whether you pick it up off of a piece of plastic where it can reside for a while, or metal, or whatever surface it may be. You never know where it is, so, and there's so much research going on and so many ideas, but who knows what's real. So these are Dr. Mark's recommendations. These are just something I'm sharing because I've seen it be beneficial for many, many people over the past couple of years, not only for prevention, but once they actually got infected, and helping them survive. And I'm not knocking drugs. They may need them. That's between you and your doctor, but these are just some things you can do yourself that could be beneficial. Zinc, so important right now, and not zinc oxide. That's what you put on your nose. That's crap. But something like a chelate, something like that. Vitamin C. The best is a buffered vitamin C, not just pure ascorbic. It's too acid, Besides that, they buffer it with a bioflavonoid usually, or calcium or sodium or whatever it may be, potassium, ascorbate. And the bioflavonoids help in the absorption of it. Who was it? I won't get into that. It's take too long to describe. Vitamin D. Research has shown those people with the lowest blood levels of vitamin D were those who had more worse symptoms and higher death rate. I know in Asia in particular, people try to avoid the sun, and part of it's UV and part of it's, of course, they want whiter skin. But you've got to get a little sun every day, even if it's on your back or wherever. 5 to 10 minutes morning sun is just almost essential for health. You can take vitamin D supplements, but my friend who wrote the foremost book on vitamin D has just told straightforward and shown the research that you don't get anything, hardly any vitamin D out of vitamin D enriched, whatever it may be, milk, cheese, whatever. And the supplements, most of them are pretty useless. It has to go through the skin to be processed. And it's the key for the immune system, one of the keys. Natural anti-inflammatories, which we have, Sirtuin, Quercetin, artemisinin, Chinese Qinghao. And it's actually Artemisia annua. And I would just keep some on hand. I do. I have some. It just has so many benefits, and particularly for this particular situation, it could It could be a lifesaver. And possibly ivermectin. You know, there's a lot of news out today about ivermectin, pro and con, and I can't say one way or another. I have no clue if it's beneficial or not. No smoking. Smoking is going to just expose you to that virus like a sieve. It's just going to just want to flourish inside your body because your respiratory system is already compromised. You know, a cigarette a day or something may not be bad, but heavy smokers are very, very susceptible. Reduced alcohol causes inflammation, reduced immunity. A little alcohol can be beneficial, they claim in research. So who knows on that account? Get good exercise daily, circulation and oxygenation. You know, my old mentor, that'd be 107, said, if you rest, you rust. You know, he was out in his garden the last day before he died in his greenhouses, and then he just went to bed and said, honey, you know, his wife says, good night, goodbye. She says, you never say goodbye. Just smiled and went to sleep and died. He just decided it was time to go. Anyway, reduce wheat and dairy, especially right now, because they both compromise the respiratory tract. Both of them do. And many people are allergic to both. And wheat is a toxic food, I hate to tell you. Almost all of it's GMO. All of it's rancid. I did studies on between rice and wheat and corn. Wheat goes rancid almost immediately when they take it out of what's called a wheat berry. It's just rancid. So, you know, and then white flour and this wheat bread they sell on the market, it's just white bread that's been colored with caramel coloring. It's sugar. That's brown sugar. So watch out what you eat. Make sure you get the real thing. And so you got to watch sugar. Sugar just creates so much acidity in the body, and all viruses thrive in acidity. You know, it's like it's a great book out, Alkalize or Die. You should read it because it's all about eating alkaline foods as much as possible. Drink warm water or fluids throughout the day. There's been so much documentation, especially out of China, that people who drink 4 or 5 cups of warm to hot water, particularly warm to hot, not hot, they have less frequency of incidence of virus infection. Very interesting, very simple. It could be other fluids too. I mean, green teas and such are fantastic. And I even read today, of all things, that coffee, 2 cups a day, they just did this research. I want to see who did the research. They didn't say. That says it helps people avoid, it helps the immune system. It's an anti-inflammatory. We'll see. But coffee is delicious, especially organic. And most of all, take CellAge Plus at least 2 times a day, morning and night. So you're getting great nutrients for when you sleep, because a lot of what happens in your immune system happens when you're sleeping. So, you know, CellAge Plus is just a pure cell food and immune enhancement. That's what it's all about. Regenerating wellness, looking younger longer, extending the quantity and quality of your life, nourish and activate your existing working cells, and awaken and empower your hibernating stem cells. We've got the research to prove it. That's the key. So, and you got to think positive. Your life has to be positive. You know, I got to say, there's so much fear out there now. Fear can be good as long as it doesn't overwhelm your system, because fear can suppress the immune system, which is quite interesting. So you need to have a good, I'm not one to really preach about this, but it's so much better to be positive about something, empowered by your positivity, than be weakened by your negativity. We all know that, right? So CellAge is for who? It's for you. So empower your immune system for better quality and quantity of life. This is a key. Some people want to live to be 100, some don't, 120, 130. We may be living to be 150 by the time we're ready to go. I mean, that'd be 80 years for me. I'm 70, yeah. So I may not be halfway there, which is fantastic. I love life. But we want to have a good quality of life. I mean, I know so many people who are 50, 60 years old. I mean, people dying of heart attacks at 35, 40. I just had a friend who died at 35 of a heart attack. Oh my gosh, he wasn't obese. I mean, it was just there. we're affected by things, and we don't want to be in a hospital bed. We don't want to be in a wheelchair when we're 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We want to still be out walking and enjoying life and living life and whatever we can do so we have a wonderful quality and quantity of life. And that's one reason why we developed CellAge Plus, is to offer you that opportunity. So that's my spew for tonight. I think I went a little bit over, but I'm totally leaving time open for your questions. Okay?